Hey everyone, welcome to Starr Mazer TV. I will apologize for the 5-minute delay. Someone changed the stream key on me and didn't let me know. But yeah, now we are here. We are on the first official episode of StarrMazer.Make, which is going to be our dev session. If you've been watching along, you might know that every Thursday we do more development-focused streams. Last week we got to check out Alex Maurer writing some music, which is really cool because I got to check out a bunch of stuff with Renoise, a program that I'm not familiar with. But now that we have this sort of official channel, this one is called StarrMazer.Make, which is a function call to make the game. And so that's what we're going to be doing. If you're new to this stream, then for the next 2 hours, we're going to be focusing on what you see in front of you, which is Unity, and this thing, MonoDevelop, which is where I write my code, and we're going to be actually building aspects of Starr Mazer. So if you're interested in how a game physically is built, we're going to be doing that for the next 2 hours. I will occasionally be looking over to the left, and that's because that's where my chat window is, so I can hang out and talk with all of you. And I want you all to participate. If you have questions, if you want to learn things, if there's something you're interested in, go ahead and ask about it in the channel, and I will follow along and see stuff. Like I'll be able to say hi to Fasiski, because it's nice to see everyone, and Cerberus, and all the cool people hanging out here, and new people too. I don't know, Crush Trooper, welcome, nice to meet you. In addition, if you guys want to follow along, I listen to music while I develop, and so sometimes when I'm not explaining all the details, I will go ahead and just put up the volume a little bit so I can listen to some beats, because I will not describe every single line of code that I'll be writing. There's aspects that I'll just be typing out things, just sort of watch along. But because Twitch has copyright rules around music, I can't play the music that I'm listening to because I stream through Spotify. But if you are on Spotify, you can find my profile, which is just Auston Montiville, and you can listen to this bass that this playlist that we're going to listen to, which is a future bass playlist. So go ahead and find my profile if you want to follow along on there. But for now, we're going to get into coding things. So Cerberus wants to ask about an update of Bosses Forever and us getting brick in there. It is something that I have not finished yet. Basically, I'm spending most of my time working on Starr Mazer and not working on other aspects of games. But even so, the little bit of time I do get to do with 2DX focus work, I've been trying to spend it on finishing taxes, because that is a thing that needs to get done. So yeah, there's lots of businessy stuff, and so the little bit of time I get that is not working on Starr Mazer, it is caught up with either other aspects of code or other aspects of the business that we have to deal with right now. So it will be coming, but eventually. The real reason is that I want to make it really nice, and I want to do all the Steamworks integration, and I want to do a whole bunch of stuff all at once. So I'm doing a bunch of things as opposed to just releasing that one aspect. I'm actually making some improvements to the game. So it's going to take a little bit longer, but it will be worth it. Until then, let's focus on Starr Mazer. Let's see here. Cerberus is asking if I've heard of Little Devil Inside, which I think if you've been on the internet in the past week, you probably have heard about it. It's a really cool game that's being kickstarted right now by this Australian development group. They have a really interesting art style and some cool game mechanics. It looks like a cool adventure cartoon that you get to play in. So I'm pretty excited about that. I want to see where it's going to go. Right now, it does look really nice, and there's an interesting experience there. But I don't see what's super novel about it yet, except for just the visual style. So I want to know more about the game. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. But yeah, if you want to check that out, you totally should, because it's got a beautiful video. Let's see here. Rex asked a question that I totally... Oh, yes. What does the pizza do? So that's talking about this pizza right here. Right now, and in this exact moment, it does nothing because I don't have any events associated to it. But this is one of the items in the game, and maybe one of the days we'll focus on building items. It's just something I have to do over the next couple weeks, so you won't see the details of it because I'm going to be implementing that. But when we play the game, we can go ahead and use items from our inventory on characters or aspects of the world. That's the Bodilitsa, which references a previous episode when we hung out from Brody Lee, who's making Time Spinner. So yeah, it's you can go reference that episode on YouTube to see more details about what the pizza may or may not do. BIM45 wants to know if there are any secret items in Starr Mazer. Well, I guess the fact that the Bodhilitsa is on my screen, I guess that means it's not really secret anymore. But yes, there's going to be secret aspects, hidden things. Because Starr Mazer is a not like specifically set linear game, there's going to be many aspects that you don't see your first, second, third, however many times through it. There's going to be lots of pieces of content that you don't really get to observe. In fact, ideally, you won't see all the content because it'll be too much to physically go through. So as far as things being secret, yeah, there's going to be like aspects of definitely like hidden treasures and cool things, different pathways, different items, different weapons, which is relevant to what we're doing today. But as far as there'll be lots of things that seem secret just because you haven't experienced them yet, and someone else will experience that because you've made different choices and the world has changed based off that. Let's see here. Are we still adding pogs to collect throughout the game? Right. I think so. There will be things. There will be lots of things. There'll be things you don't even know about. I mean, we like to talk about stew and horchata and things like that, and those are the things you know about that are being hidden in the game. But there's going to be lots of things that when you have the release version, like there will be new jokes and new things and new stories to tell. But we should get on to developing a thing. So there's a couple of things I'm involved in coding right now. What we're building right now is what's called the Playroom. It's sort of it's a development strategy where instead of focusing on building a design document where you have a document that everyone references, you build an interactive section of the game that shows off all of the game mechanics. So in the Playroom, you'll be able to go up and activate any of the shops, have dialogue conversations with characters, see cutscenes, move around in ships, like do every single aspect of the game completely disconnected from the content of it. It's a way of designing sort of mechanics first and also gets everyone on board with the same feel of the game. So there's not situations where people misinterpret what words say or don't read the document at all. Everyone can play the game and see what's in the game and use that. It's a development style that I know at least Nintendo uses, and I've been using it since before I even knew what it was. It's a way for me to get a feel of all the game mechanics and sort of the scope of things to lay down the groundwork and give us something to iterate upon. Seeing how lots of aspects of Starr Mazer haven't really been built before, at least not in any games that I've seen in the way that we're doing it, we want to make sure that we have a space to experiment with. So this involves me building all of the game's mechanics, at least all the mechanics that we understand that are going to exist in right now. For example, just today and earlier I was working on like the save file and configuration systems for the game, because those are important. We actually have a little config manager here where I can set things such as volume and difficulty and all these options that you're going to have access to in the game. I think I actually forgot to adjust something that saves those values, but anyway, that's fine. We're going to have key configuration in here, all those things that we've been talking about a lot. But one of the things that I did last week, which is relevant to what we're doing today, is that I made a system so that you can control any of the ships in the game. This basically allows it so that those enemy ships that you're fighting, you could actually fly those if you want. We have a little demo of that. It doesn't look too nice, so maybe we'll show it, maybe we won't. But by doing that, I made it so that all of the weapons work across all of the ships. And so because of that, when we add a weapon to the game, anyone can use it. We have to add in some AI for the enemies to be able to fire it correctly, and we have to add in the control scheme for the player to fire it. But that's basically it. We add in some art assets, and then we have a weapon. So we're going to build a weapon today, is what I'm interested in. Maximo had an idea for a weapon, so we're going to go through the process of making that. So before we hop into that, I'm going to take a look at the stream a little bit and see if I missed any questions. I'm looking specifically for question marks. Let's see here, the SS5055. I know about that. I don't watch every episode of Starr Mazer TV now because I get to build the game. So I don't know what has and hasn't been leaked. But apparently you all know about the SS5055. I don't know how much details in it, but that's going to be a really interesting ship in the game. Now, just because the code enables you to control any ship in the game, it doesn't mean you actually will be controlling every ship in the game. I don't know if SD will ever let you use her Sun Spear. We'll have to see. Depends on how you play. But it's a system for me to design the code in a way so that everything's interchangeable, and it makes it very easy for us to make those decisions in the future. What ships we want flying, which ships we want to be allies or enemies, and having different roles in the game. So by building the code in a way that allows for all of these options, then we can go ahead and just say yes to that in the future if we decide to add in an episode that has a character swapping ships or something like that. In addition, all the weapons we can use across all of the board. We've got a unified control scheme, so it becomes easy to develop new content for the game, which is sort of the whole purpose of why I'm building the game the way I'm doing it. Let's see here. Will there be any GOAT-based mini card games? Fizisky is trying to put his own card game into Starr Mazer, I think. We'll have to play it some more to find out if that's something that should fit in the game. Let's see here. And Cerberus asks, can you guys add something where you can see past chat messages? That way you won't forget a side mission or something. We're going to do playtesting to determine if that's necessary. There's sort of one aspect of that, Starr Mazer is reflectant upon real actions and real life, in that, like, if you make something and if you do something and you forget about it and that upsets something or bothers someone or impress someone and you don't remember it, that's sort of a situation you have to deal with. But we're going to have to iterate to see if that works well, if that feels correctly, because there's this discrepancy between Brick and the player, and does Brick remember it as a player or not? So maybe if it's needed, it will go in, and if it's not, then we won't put it in. Let's see here. All right. And Big Bold Flank asks, so now how easy will it be to port to the 3DS? Do we want to change that stretch goal? Well, as far as porting to the 3DS, I don't know if it's any easier. Porting to the new 3DS is significantly easier. If you didn't notice, a week ago, actually like a day or something after I was talking with some people at Nintendo, they announced that new 3DS support is available on Unity. At least it will be. The thing is, they only announced that it's going to happen. They haven't announced a date, any of the limitations, any of the restrictions. Is that compatible with older versions of the 3DS? They were fairly specific in saying new 3DS, so I think that means it's only new 3DS. But ideally, the work done there will enable us to save a lot of time on being able to do a 3DS port. Because I would like to bring the game to 3DS and new Nintendo 3DS, not just one of them. The new Nintendo 3DS is significantly more powerful, so it makes it a lot easier to have essentially less efficient code that's being ported in through an engine written in a different language to run on the system. Either way, getting the game to new Nintendo 3DS will be significantly easier, which is really awesome. So it brings that possibility much, much closer. But yeah. All right, so we've answered a bunch of questions. All right, I guess I have to answer one more, because there's questions. There's just so many of them. But then we're going to get into building a game. We're going to build a weapon. Like, we're going to do this together. That's what we're going to do on the stream, but I'll answer a couple more questions before we get to that. So, will the AI automatically kill you when they fire, or will it have a hit-miss mechanic? It won't have a hit or miss mechanic, but I will show you how the system works right now. This is our current iteration. We have two systems here. We have shields and integrity. So if you'll see, there's two bars up here, two green bars, I guess 4 technically. The one on the top is our shield bar. So the ships in this game have the potential to have shields installed in them. And shields take a number of hits but recharge after a certain number of time. If your shield hits to the bottom, then it'll affect your hull, which actually damages the ship. And damaging the ship, you don't have nearly as many hits. In this case, the Star Wolf can take 3 hits. There's a little bit of invulnerability time, so if you get caught in a storm of bullets, you don't just instantly blow up. But if you get hit, it'll potentially cause damage to the Star Wolf, something that you'll have to repair. That can make certain systems not work, and it can make it so that you have to go off on side missions to get your ship running again. So, or bring the equipment to be prepared for that. Just to show you how it works sort of in the game, as I fly around, if I impact something, you can see that my shield drains. And then, yeah, we'll additionally take some hull damage. Now, I'm going to fix a little thing that just popped up. Let's see here. We got a no reference exception because I've been in the middle of doing lots of code, so I got to make sure that this thing doesn't break all the time. So if I did this thing where it enables you to like sort of remove events, so I need to make sure that we don't get no reference exceptions all the time. Or current path grid. So let's see if that error. Anyway, fixing that error, we can continue along. So yeah, when I take points of damage, you'll see that my shields drop a little bit and then recover. If I take a lot of damage, then it can actually start doing hull damage to me, and that's permanent. That sort of damage right there. Looks like I got another error there, which is fun. I'll fix that. Yeah, so in this situation, I've taken 1 point of hull damage. Now my shields will eventually recharge, but that'll take a little bit of time. Now nothing's really balanced right now. I am taking I have tons of shields, and it requires me to throw the Star Wolf into something. That doesn't mean the game's going to be easy. That means I haven't balanced any of these systems yet. So let's go ahead and see that a little bit more. I just kind of want to make sure that that no reference thing that I fixed is working correctly. I think that happened when I destroyed the enemy. So let's go ahead and fire that. All right, cool, that looked good. So yeah, you'll notice that we have a couple of different weapons, new ones. So this is our sort of single fire. It just fires these large blasts very quickly. We have a double laser, which fires these two shots. They're slightly interspersed. They don't fire nearly as fast if you remember our older builds. And then we have another weapon, which was set on the enemies before, which is this laser that you can charge up and then blow things up with, which is a lot of fun. So we're going to add a fourth weapon in today. I guess you technically have another weapon. You can ram things with the Star Wolf or collect the bullets, but that's not really useful to you. So yeah, that's sort of how our system will work right now. There's not going to be a hit-miss chance. If you hit a bullet, you hit it. There's not going to be a roll for that. It's skill-based. But the game's not going to be as unforgiving, we'll say, as games such as Gradius or R-Type, where it's one shot you lose. That made sense for arcades back when they were trying to get your quarters, but Starr Mazer is a story-based game, not a get-your-quarter-based game. So because of that, we want to implement different systems that sort of make things more dramatic. If you're, at half shields with one hit left, the situation's very intense, but we don't want you dying all the time. Dying needs to be incredibly rare because it needs to have weight in the game. If the Starr Mazer is dying all the time, then it doesn't matter if, like referencing other old RPGs and whatnot. Why does a character die? It doesn't even matter. So, let's see. I think we have a bunch of other questions, so I should probably check out some of these here. For someone who knows nothing about making games, what are the best things to learn and get started? Go to Reddit /r/GameDev, and there's tons of resources there. Yeah, go just read that. It'll be better than anything I can tell you about here. Let's see here. And let's say you have to repair your ship, and you did every side mission and still can't afford damage repair. Then what? That implies that there's a limit of how you can get things. Sorry, I said side mission as a way that you can get items, but there are shops in the game. You can go buy parts for your ship. You can fix them yourself, or you can pay someone else to fix them. Repair parts are not a limited resource. They simply change the reason why we're doing it this way is because that hull damage could last for a while. You could have taken a hit, and you might travel multiple levels before you get that repair, which makes all of them more tense. The entire health system is just to be able to create tension over a period of time, as opposed to just one slip up and causing you to fail the whole state. So yeah, repairing things it's not like there's a limited resource of how many things in this galaxy which you can use to repair your ship or other ships. It's just simply a way of being able to carry damage over time and not repair it instantly. Let's see here. Okay, we're totally, absolutely building this time. We're going to go into code. So we're going to make a new weapon. And to do that, let's take a look at how our weapons are currently built and see how we can add on to that. So I'm going to go into my prefabs here. Once again, I'm not going to be explaining all the details of how the code works, but you can just we'll focus on aspects of it. If there's something you don't understand, don't worry about it. Just sort of gloss over it or learn how to build games, which your choice. So this is an instance of the Star Wolf. This gets loaded in when we actually start up the game. And it's got a couple of these objects here. It's got various weapons, a double, a laser, a single, a smart bomb, and a triple. Now, I got the smart bombs working a while ago. I don't know if those still work. They probably have to be fixed. But all of these things work, the double, the laser, the single, the triple. So the triple isn't something that we had access to. I can actually put that on the Star Wolf if I want. I don't have the system built in the game right now, but I do have the code functioning for it. So if I wanted to, say, switch out this laser weapon for my triple, I can go ahead and just load that in slot that in the loadout, which is our ship loadout script. which is somewhere here. Here it is, yeah. So this ship loadout allows us to switch between various weapons. So I'm going to put the triple there, and we're going to go ahead and play the game, and then we'll have access to a different thing. Now the UI is not going to update. We are building a game, so it still says laser, but now we're finding the triple effect. So by using this system, we can build new weapons and just load them in. So let's take a look at that in a little bit more detail. Let's bring that Star Wolf out again. And yeah, so we're going to put a brand new weapon onto the ship. So what does it take to build a weapon? Let's go ahead and look at this, the single. When I have this selected, you'll notice that there's a couple of different components over here attached to the game object. We've got a muzzle, and muzzles control how bullets are fired. They control the frequency, the angle, the direction, all that. So whenever we want to send a bullet in a direction, we do it with the muzzle script. We have a ship weapon script, which deals with actually firing the weapon, relating it to the manager, which controls, which takes like game input controls, and it adjusts a couple of variables specific to that weapon that gives us the ability to change some aspects of it. On this one, we have a muzzle view script, but that's only on one of the weapons. We have that to create the little like flash effect there. Now, if I actually look inside the weapon, we just have the graphic for the muzzle. Different weapons have different things. So this weapon double here actually is two weapons. So it's a trick there. The laser is only a thing that fires one bullet, but we just put two of them on. So it's basically like having two cannons. And so we only have to make code to fire one aspect of it. We could as many as we want. If I wanted to make this like a quadruple cannon or something like that, we could just throw a bunch of these on here and make it fire in all sorts of directions. So we're going to build a new gun, but what are we going to make? First, I'll answer some questions. So let's see here. So Cerberus is asking again. I'm talking about the repair system. So wait, if I beat a stage and got hit once, until I get my ship repaired, I only have 2 hitboxes? That is correct, but remember you still have your shield, which recharges. So yeah, it's going to be dangerous to get hit. You don't want to get that shield broken through. It's going to be intense damage. But if you prepare yourself and you have access to various tools and whatnot, you'll be able to repair your ship even if you're away from a shop, sort of a repair shop. So you can prepare yourself for these situations. So the type of bullet we're going to be making, at least at first, has already been designed. We don't have any art assets for it, so we're probably going to make up some filler assets in Photoshop real quick. But what it is it's a weapon that Maximo designed. And the idea is that it's a short-range weapon with varying degrees of damage. It's a sort of spark laser. You hold it for a moment to charge it up and then fire it. And what it does is it creates this field of lightning. And close to the ship deals a lot more damage than far away from the ship. So in building the system, part of it's fortunate. We already have a gun that holds a charge and then fires it. That's the laser. So we can actually use that sort of same basic design to make the weapon. What we don't have any functionality for is the sweet spot damage, where it's got 3 different types of damage. And I have an idea of how we're going to go ahead and build that. But first, let's just get some basic thing down, which is that we charge up a weapon and then it places a graphic on the screen and that damages an opponent. Let's worry about the sweet spot later because that's sort of a new aspect. So in doing that, we're going to need a couple of things. We're going to need a new weapon. We're going to need to create a class for it that'll allow it to be its own weapon, and we're going to create the control function mechanisms for that. And then we'll need some assets for it. I'll probably use some filler assets for the time being. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and base this off of the ship weapon beam. So we'll create a new script here. Ship weapon, we'll call it the Spark. I'm sure it's got some cool name that Maximo thought of, but we won't use that right now. So ship weapon Spark. Bring up the class for that, and we're going to bring up our ship weapon beam because it's going to be very similar to the beam. So I'm going to just go in and start coding things. Let's see here. Cerberus asks, with the new pixel artist, are you guys going to be to remake some sprites or just do new ones? I guarantee. We might try to reuse some of the ones if we can, but there's going to be lots and lots of new sprites. We might end up remaking them, but we're actually using that as a guide, so I don't think we're going to stray too far from that. I think we'll be able to reuse those assets, which is really nice. So I'm looking at this weapon, and this sort of already has some functions set up for us. I'm going to go ahead and just take all this code and remove the things that we don't need. Probably going to want a charge graphic. We're not going to need a head. We'll need a spark collider. This will actually go ahead and deal the damage. I'll keep these events for now. We'll need a damage type on this. We'll go ahead and get direct access to the damage collision. Damage collision is what actually allows us to deal damage to certain things. We can assign a tag to identify what it does damage to. So, let's see here. On enable, we want to be able to set the correct damage types. Same for the charge as well, because the charge will also deal damage. I don't think that's going to be the case with this spark. It's built different than the laser, so I don't think we need to necessarily do that. Now, this has a whole bunch of beam functionality that we don't need, but we do want the spark to be turned off. Not going to have a head anymore. So when we actually shoot, there's a bunch of different aspects that we can deal with. I think I'm going to leave it in a very similar way in that you press and hold the button to sort of charge it up. Then you release the button to fire if you've charged up enough. I might make it so that you can always fire this thing and that'll actually adjust the damage, but we'll see how that feels. So for now we initialize, we start recharging, we set the recharge rate. If it's above 1, we set to 1, it's fine. This is us releasing it. Here we go. We're not going to fire the laser anymore, fire the spark. Spark.GameObject is redundant. It is a game object. This depends on how we do the visuals of it. We'll go ahead and just set the spark active for now and say we don't need the spark collider because it'll already have the collider on the spark, and that'll set it to true when it enables. We don't need a beam timer. Oh, I guess that's what we're using to sort of set how long it lasts. Yeah, we'll change the name of it though. Not really going to have an ending for this. I guess we will, and then we'll have the cooldown when you can't fire, but we'll just shut the spark off right away. that. Set them both false. We'll go through the cooldown period. This actually deals with shutting off if we're not charged. We'll leave this for now, but we might actually change this bit of code to allow us to fire, even if we're not charged to 100%, and we'll adjust damage based off that. Let's see here. Cerberus asks what my favorite graphic style is. That's broad. I don't know. I like anime stuff. Like Guilty Gear Xrd looks gorgeous. Oh man, the new Fire Emblem game, those cutscenes, beautiful. We'll go with that. For right now, yeah, new Fire Emblem cutscenes, whatever style that is, that's what I like. Alright, so now we've got the basic flow of this weapon. You'll hold it, you'll charge up, it'll release. We need to make that appear on screen, and we need to make that deal damage. So we sort of need this spark object. So let's go make a new weapon. A new game object called weapon spark. Alright, so like our other things, we need a couple of weapons. Now we need the muzzle to actually fire a bullet. We need the spark weapon. And that's all we need for now. Something about this, actually. If I use the muzzle, we'll fire a bullet, and the bullet will exist in space. But if we go the laser route, like how I was building it before, that's an item that we carry with us. I guess it depends. Do we want the spark to stay or emerge from the ship? For now, I'm kind of feeling that I want the spark to stay. So we're going to actually use a muzzle, and we're going to create a spark. And so it'll flash in an area, but that'll stay on the screen. And then you can go create another one in a different spot, as opposed to it being attached to your ship. So because of that, there's a couple of things we don't need. We actually don't need the spark object. We'll leave the charge in there for now. Because instead we're actually going to fire a bullet. So instead of needing the spark, we need access to the muzzle to be able to fire. So we'll just turn that spark into a muzzle. And so instead of setting the spark to true, we set muzzle dot shoot. We have to see if we're inverted, which I think we do based off the transform. Lossy scale. This is to see if we're facing left or right. That's what is that, -1. Doing single line ifs. I'm not always familiar with the syntax. I think that's what we did. Yeah. Oh yeah, we can just do this easier. That's a bool. So we invert the x if it's equal to -1. Then we need to put in our damage types, so we know what we're going to be able to hurt. So that will fire a bullet now. And that goes ahead. Fire equals true because release. Let me do our cooldown thing. So we'll leave it like that for now. Let's see how it works. So that means we need to make a bullet that this is going to fire. This needs to fire a bullet type. And do we need a muzzle point? Yeah, I guess that the self is the muzzle point, so it spawns from itself. When you write a lot of things, there's all these aspects that you forget to do. I don't need to do that. I think we already have access to a muzzle. Yeah, muzzle is part of the ship weapon base class, so we actually don't need to create 2 muzzles. We already have 1. I should have noticed that in the script. You see there's a muzzle on top and a muzzle down here. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not. If I point at things, I'm not sure if you're seeing it, but maybe you are. Either way, let's assign that. We need to assign the manager. We need to assign the damage and the charge, but I'm not actually using that root anymore. Instead, the weapons are going to have their own damage. So let's go ahead and get rid of those aspects. Because instead, send manager dot damage types. So we'll get it from the ship that we're controlling. And don't worry, I'm just commenting these out for now in case I decide I want to switch the way the weapon works. I'm not really going to know until I feel it. We might want to have it attached to the ship, and so if we do that, it'll be easier to uncomment this stuff. But if we do like the way of just firing it and forgetting it, then we'll go ahead and clean up that code later. Sweet, alright, people can see the mouse. So I can point at things, and you know what I'm pointing at. That's good. Alright. So now we have that, we need to actually create the bullet type that's going to be fired. So let's create a new bullet. We have a couple of bullets in here. Let's use another bullet for now to show the effect, and then we'll replace the graphics later, or maybe I'll go into Photoshop and make something. If I can avoid doing that and just let the art be made once by the artist, then that's better. But yeah, let's go ahead with the smart bomb. That's a nice object there. So we're going to call this bullet spark 01. Sweet, so now I have another spark bullet. The bullet type, we don't assign that. That lasts for 0.5, it has enough speed, no angle, it's good. It's got a collider on it. How big is this thing? Yeah, that's big enough. It's a good size. I like it. The little box collider is a little off. It's got a sweet spot. I want to make that bigger. I guess I should go with a sphere collider because this thing's a sphere, or a circle, but yeah, we'll clean it up later. So we got a better collider on that. Stand check bullet. We'll make it do 1 for now. I think I know how we're actually going to do the sweet spot thing. We're going to just put multiple colliders on this bullet and give them different damage values. Now, if someone's in both the sections, they'll take both damage. So those are really the sweet spots. We'll probably have to figure that out because you don't want them taking damage from each of those if they're in both the colliders. Maybe we can all route it through one damager. But yeah, we'll figure that out when we get there. Alright, sweet. We've got this bullet spark. That's great. So now we need a new factor for the bullets, for the spark. So we got a bullet spark 01 factoring. It's going to take a bullet spark. And we're going to name it that. We'll create, I don't need 30 of them. I think I'll need 3 at most. So we go into weapon spark. The bullet type is bullet spark 01. I think that's all we say. Yeah, it'll go ahead and find it based off that name. Yeah, we don't have any of these things. The spread we have to set to 1, so we make sure at least one appears. Speed is 0. We don't want it actually moving. So sweet. This, I think this will work at this point. Let's find out. So we're going to go ahead and replace our triple with our spark. We'll save that. And let's see if we have a new weapon in the game. Hey, Toshigami's here. Hey, Toshigami. Alright. Well, it is not firing. So, I have messed something up. Let's take a look at what could be happening. Oh, I didn't change the loadout. It's still activating the weapon laser, not the weapon spark. Let's go in. Oh, that's probably related to something else I did. Yeah, we'll not worry about that, but yeah, that's something I gotta fix. I should write a note about that. I make it so that we turn off weapons at the start, but it's only the ones that are actually loaded onto the ship. Because you're not expected to have weapons on the ship that you don't have in your loadout. So let me go take off that laser. I'll just deactivate it for now. There we go, that's a bit better. I don't think that's going to affect the spark though. I still think something is going on with it, but let's test it out just in case. If that doesn't work, we can start debugging. Yeah, so we're getting nothing when we fire the laser. Let's make sure it's on. Yeah, the spark is on, but it is not firing. Let's see if I got everything set. Recharge rate could be up. Duration, cooldown rate. That all looks fine. So let's go see what's happening. We'll just log out some stuff so we can check it out. All right. Let's make sure we're charging. That's the first thing, to see if we're getting any input response at all. All right, so we are actually charging. I just didn't charge enough. There we go. It totally works. It just got a long charge time. Boop. Yeah, look at that. That's a great weapon. I love it. Boom. Yeah, look at destroy all those things. Sorry, I'm having fun now. Oh, this thing takes super long time to charge. It's the worst. Yeah, we have an enemy out there. It's sort of just firing lasers at us. Look at that guy. Look at that. Here, let's go look at him. Why are you over there, bro? You're way over there. I know why this character is over there. You'll notice that we have this grid here. This grid indicates what it can and can't move on, and it's actually off the grid. I'm going to adjust that grid to make sure I can get it so it moves over there. Because I don't like that it's not on the grid. I want that guy to come over and fight me so I can drop a giant bomb on him. So, let's see here. Where's our path thing? Short path grid. Here we go. So, I can extend the size of this. Then we'll have to adjust the offset. I'm going to have to remember these numbers. So, you can help me out. Yeah. Those look like good numbers. So, 64 and negative 31 are the new numbers we want. It's not going to remember these values when I shut it off, so I need to put that back into 64 and negative 31. And sweet, we'll apply that. And now, let's make sure destroyers actually come out and fight us. They spawn in about 15 seconds, so let us play around a little bit. So while we wait for that thing to spawn, we're going to fire this spark thing again. So it takes a super long time to charge up, which I really don't like. It needs to charge up faster. In addition, we need some feedback for the player. I thought it wasn't working because I had no idea that it was just taking a really long time to charge up. So we're going to want to put a visual indicator in that it's charging. We'll probably just grab the charge graphics from the laser so we can see that it's happening. Also, it's firing below us, like it drops below. I want it to drop in front, so we need to fix that too. Yeah, there's also this cooldown period that it's not telling me. If I hit it too close after, I'm not charging. So I need to make sure that it's clear that I can't charge during that cooldown. I wonder if I can destroy this guy. This guy's actually really tough. He's got a lot of health. Yeah, I can't take him out with that weapon. It's kind of interesting. Sweet. All right. Well, the thing's bigger, but we didn't get any destroyers on that run. They're sort of randomly generated. Oh man, Turtle Sense, thank you for writing down all of those variables. I really appreciate that. Big World Flying too. I think you grabbed other variables, but yeah, thank you. Let's see here. Do we have any questions? Cerberus asks, Austin, what are your thoughts on switching from horizontal to vertical for the SHMUP sections to surprise people? There's aspects of it that we want to do, not like we change the camera and now you see the top of the ship and scrolling top view. But there's this really awesome section in Lords of Thunder where you're flying around and all of a sudden there's this giant pit and you drop into it. And now it's like Battletoads Level 2, you're just flying through and there's enemies everywhere. So we're going to do aspects of that. There's also... All right, I'm gonna leak a thing. I don't even know if this will work, but I'm really excited about it. Maximo is showing an aspect of the game where you're doing a dogfight against another pilot. And it doesn't make sense for them both to just sort of be horizontal all the time, like fighting each other. If you were doing a dogfight, you would actually be flying all around and warping around. So what we're thinking of doing is the perspective stays the same, where your ship's always there, but we actually move the background to indicate that you're flying and doing loops and curves and turns and whatnot. So we obviously have to test that out, see if it works, see if it looks good, but it seems like an interesting aspect. Cool. All right, so we need to start making adjustments to this weapon to make it not suck. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add some feedback on that charge. I want to put that back in. We've got the charge from the laser that we can use, so let's go ahead and we'll grab that graphic. We'll turn on the charge aspect of it, and all we really need to do is we need to have a sprite that turns on and loops through an animation. So let's go ahead and get that charge back in there. Let's get these beats back on. Once again, if you want to follow along with the beats that I'm listening to, you can follow me on Spotify and check out those beats. All right, so now we'll have a charge object. We need to actually put that on there. See if we can just grab the charge from the laser. I think we can. I'll make this super easy. Duplicate that, put that into the spark, wait for this to compile. Yeah. Set that right on the center of it. Let's also adjust the position of this. I want it to appear in front of the ship. So I'll put it there. So yeah, we've got a charge now. Let's go ahead and hook that up. See what that looks like. Now I think if I look at the charge, it has an animation. It doesn't go on automatically. We have a view for it. So I have a view script that goes ahead and actually controls how this thing displays. Which is nice because it adds a lot of versatility. I don't think I really need that in this case. I do need to shut it off though, so I do need to hook up with this because I need to shut off the visual of the charge, but I can do that just by turning it off. Alright, let's see if we can do it without writing a custom script. I would prefer to do it that way. So we'll go ahead and get rid of this. And instead we'll make it so that we have a sprite animation. It'll play it right away. Oh, but we need to sync from the initial charge over to the loop, so we'll need something to just do that conversion. So we do need a script to do this. What was that script called? Something view. Ship weapon bead view. Here we go. We're going to duplicate this. We're going to make a ship weapon spark view. We can also, I mean, we'll probably need something like this anyway, so we can do more complicated aspects when we get the final graphics in. If this ship even, or if this weapon even makes it in the game. So let's go ahead. We'll start with this with the beam as a base, because I already have a bunch of code that already links in to the various events. And we already have those events written, so I'm going to change this to ship weapon spark. Sweet. Fire loop animation. So this takes a couple of aspects. Yeah. I want to see if this, what this actually deals with. Sets a fire loop animation for the charge. Yeah, this just deals completely with the charge graphic, which is good. Oh, sweet. Vaziski linked the playlist on the chat. Thank you, Vaziski. I was going to do that, but I'm using 2 different computers, so I couldn't link the URL, so I appreciate that. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and use this for now. Spark view. Sweet. Now we got a new spark view. Need to grab the weapon. We got a sprite animator. Charge begin is laser boss fire charge. Oh, and Laser Kid will be happy that I changed all the spelling of lasers to laser. When writing in code, it's important that things are spelled in the way that people understand, in case someone else needs to spell something that you wrote. And then we're going to have laser boss firing charge. I think. Let me go ahead and actually look at those animations. Where is the animation aspect for this? Here. Bullet animations. Here we go. I want to make sure that I'm using the right animations. So we have this one. Okay, so the boss fire charge is what we want. And then we have laser charge loop. Okay, so we're going to do boss fire charge to laser charge loop. To laser charge loop. We're actually not going to use the fire animations of loop animations because we're going to just turn it off at that aspect. We're not going to see it anymore. So I don't need to put anything in there. Animations, we need aspect to that because I want to actually fade out the whole thing. That's if we do a fade animation for this, for the charge, but we're not really going to have it work that way. The charge is going to happen and it's going to disappear as soon as the spark's there. So I can go ahead and take these things out of this ship open spark view because we don't need them. So I don't need any of those. I don't need any of those. Yeah, we just go into that, we go into the charger loop. Let's make sure that I'm turning off the charge at the right time. When we actually fire, instead we want the charge. I want to turn that off. So, let's have that update and compile the script. Take a drink. Cool. Let's see what that looks like. A really good song's playing right now. Totally loving it. Alright, look at that. We got a nice charge effect. Boom. That was good. Oh, wait. It kept going, though. It's terrible. And the charge effect doesn't sync up with the actual length of time it requires to fire the thing. See, I want that thing to keep doing the sparks, and I want that to appear, this giant bug. Hey, our buddy appeared when I have it. Oh, geez, the thing's tough. I'm getting wrecked here. Again, I'm taking all the hits. Oh, no. Starr Wolf is almost down. So, some things that we want to have happen is that we want it so that the orb thing, where it's flashing the giant orb, we don't want that to appear until our weapon is fully charged. So that gives the player information that, hey, I can release it and fire it now. So let's do one thing at a time. We'll focus on that. Which is charge begin sets it, and then beam fires it. So actually, until charge gets full, but we don't have an effect when the charge gets full. So, if charge... Oh wait, we can do it to this one. We'll create a new event called charge ready. Yeah. So this will be an event that triggers charge ready when we are ready to fire the laser. And the reason why we do this as an event, what it does is it makes it so that our weapon can fire events, so it doesn't have to know that the graphics exist. What happens is the graphic knows that the weapon exists because it's reliant on that. But the weapon, it can function without a graphic. It can function with whatever graphic we want to put in there. So instead of tying the code together and make them act directly, I'll have it so that the weapon fires events that the view or the graphics hook onto, and they can change their state when the model or the ship weapon identifies it. That's part of the model view controller sort of setup thing that people use often in web development. We just send a blank event args. Actually, there's a thing. So I'm doing this whenever I fire an event, I fire a new system.event args. I realize that creates like a bunch of garbage. So when we optimize the game, I think we're going to create like one static system event args and pass it through. I don't know if that'll work, but that might actually optimize our game a bit. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about optimization right now. We have to worry about building the game. So we're going to add a new event. Charge_begin. Create a new thing that handles when the charge begins. And we want to make sure to stop listening to that when the thing's destroyed, otherwise we get all these memory leaks. We don't want that. Oh, wait, not charge begin. What was it? Oh, I put in the wrong thing. I gotta get rid of this beam class. Looks way too similar. Where's that code? Here we go. Working in two different classes. Oh. All of my adjustments have been in the wrong place. Sweet, we're already setting the charge active all there, but we want it when we fire it. Yes. Make sure I didn't break anything else. Cool, that should be fine. So, now that we're dealing with the spark and not the laser, I was editing laser code for a moment there. That was a bad idea. Charge ready. That's what we want. Handle charge ready. So let's create a new function. Handle charge ready. We get some information. It's sort of just standard. I don't really need this stuff, but I don't want to do custom things every time I have an event, because we're going to have a lot of events. So, we want sprite animation.play. So how does this work normally? What happens is we handle charge again, we play charge begin animation, and then we wait for it to be completed. We're actually not going to wait for this to complete, and we're going to change it so that it loops. So that's going to go ahead and play. And here we're going to sprite stop. is we're going to stop the charge effect, and then we're going to play the charge loop animation. So technically we have two charge loop animations, but we'll keep it calling it begin for now. So we won't need this anymore. Go ahead and get rid of those. That's not a thing we call anymore, so I don't need to worry about that. Sweet. Okay, but we will have to actually create a new animation, because the one that we have there doesn't loop. So if we wouldn't play it, it would do the sparkle effect and it would stop. So let's go back into those animations. Unfortunately, we can't duplicate in this version of 2D Toolkit, so we're going to create a new one. We're going to call this Laser Boss Fire Charge Loop. We're going to take those same frames from 0. We'll just autofill. And that's when we don't want to use these frames anymore. Oh, I got a little too happy with deleting those things. It'd be nice if I could like read the names of these. 2, 3, 4, 5. Sweet. So add in number 6. And let's go ahead and play this. See, I don't like that because it sort of fades out every time. So let's go ahead and add in some frames to make it dissipate as well. It's playing a bit fast. What, 24? 12? Yeah, that looks alright. An artist would make this look a lot better. I don't like that it just sort of goes back and forth. But it does what we need it to, which is convey some information. Let's see here. Alright, no new questions. Thanks, Cerberus, for posting up our websites and stuff. Yeah, if you're new to the stream, you should check out those things. Alright, so we've got our fire charge loop ready to go. We'll go ahead and commit that animation. We need to go back to our Star Wolf, because our Star Wolf has the actual weapon in it. Let's go to our charge, and now we have some new animations. So the charge begin animation is actually the boss fire charge loop. So that should make it so that now the charge effect loops until we're ready. Oh, looks like I messed something up. Charge ready does not equal null. You always want to check if your events equal null or not, because you might not have assigned anything to them. All right. Well, that halfway works. We have this effect not until we're ready to fire, which is really nice. But that just stopped. Okay, now it cycled. It did a thing where it didn't do it the first time. I know why. There's a default animation assigned to it that I didn't adjust because we're still using the old version. So all I have to do is bring out the Star Wolf. We go to the spark, go to charge, and we have a default animation set here to play automatically. Instead, we're not going to play it automatically because we actually indicate right away to set it. I was using the play automatically to see if we could get around that whole creating a specific script for it. But we couldn't, not to get the effects that we wanted to, which is all this feedback and whatnot. Yeah, look at that. And then it's ready to go. Boom, we can fire it. Awesome. So let's make a couple more adjustments. I don't like that the way it sort of covers me. Oh, this is a bug right now. That guy. I'll just chill there. And boom. Oh, I messed it up. This thing takes so long to charge. Boom. Sorry, sometimes like I get into the game and I just want to like keep playing it. Anyway, all right. So we have things that we need to fix. Our weapon isn't ready yet. There's a couple of things I don't like about it. One, I don't like that it covers at the Star Wolf. I want it to happen in front of the Star Wolf so that none of the area is overlapping with the Star Wolf. Because then you lose half the effectiveness. The idea is that it's supposed to be a spark that shoots out from the ship. Now, once again, the graphics that we're using on that final, it's just the old bomb graphic. But ideally, it will be this sort of lightning spark that'll arc from the beginning of the ship, and that'll give clear indication to our sweet spots. But let's go ahead and adjust it so we move that thing farther ahead, which is actually super simple. Because the bullet gets created where the center of the muzzle is. So right now we have it creating there. And I want it to happen somewhere over, well, it's 50 wide, I think the bullet is. Yeah, so we want to increase this by 25. So is that 2045? Yeah. Let's set it there. Give that a test. There we go. Still a little too close. Send it farther out. It's mostly because the bomb's really big. Try 60. I'm going to adjust something. So if I give him the weapon, we charge up by our recharge rate. Right now that's 0.5, so it takes a really long time. That's why it takes so long that I have to hold it for a really long time to charge it. I do want you to be able to hold it for a long time, but not that long. At least not for our current tests. So we're going to bump that up, so it takes almost no time at all. Just for debugging purposes. We'll bounce it in a minute. Boom. All right. Got a much... There we go. So I like where it's heading now. It's way out there. But there's another thing. I keep doing this. So I fire, and then I hold it right away, and nothing's happening. You can't see, but I'm pressing the button right now. That's because we're still in our cooldown phase. So I need to inform the player that we're still cooling down, and we can't fire the ship again. How are we going to do that? There's a couple different ways. But basically, we want to just show a graphic that's still on the ship to indicate that we are cooling down. I think I'll probably just put that charge animation effect on the front of the nozzle, just so we can see that. So we'll have a new sprite. We'll trigger it through the same view class that we have. And yeah, we'll just turn it on. It'll just loop through. Pretty simple. We already have the events for it, so we'll just hook it into that. All right. So we've got a charge, and we'll have a cooldown. And this thing's going to be a lot simpler. It's not going to have its own script to control it. We're going to actually control it with the other script. So we will charge this. We will set this to play automatically. Apply. But we'll need to adjust our script for the weapon view. So we're going to have a new thing, which is the thinking about how we want to turn this on and turn this off. You know, so it's always on. And we kind of just want to turn it on. Yeah, we just want to turn it on. It'll loop until we're done with it. Which means I just need access to the game object, which is the cooldown object. It's pretty simple. We have beam ending. We're just going to go ahead and turn that on. And then beam complete, we turn off. Now, these two functions, beam ending and beam complete, we actually already have them. It's called beam because we grabbed it from the laser code. We'll rename everything in a little bit. But, yeah, let's see here. Cerberus is saying if the ship had a cooldown mechanic, the more you know. It's more of the weapons can have a cooldown. But I'm doing this weird sort of system that there's a few variables. For all ship weapons, Yeah, I'll describe how the weapons work a little bit. They have a couple of variables. They have a charge amount, a recharge rate, they have ammunition, and they got some descriptor names. Now, the standard way we do that is that you can go ahead and fire a weapon, like hold it to charge it up. And so you have a recharge rate that he does. So you press the button, you hold it down, and it will charge based off its recharge rate until it gets to full, you release and it fires. But we actually use these same variables to make our machine gun weapons as well. Instead, what we do is we make it so that they can fire when you press the button, and they recharge when you're automatically. And so as long as you're holding on the button, it's trying to fire, but it won't fire unless the charge amount is full, and we have a different function that recharges it automatically based on the recharge rate. So we actually use it in the opposite way. But in doing that, we can write little scripts for each of our weapons, and we can use a couple of these variables to make a whole bunch of different things. We can make it so that you could press a button, and then it would slowly start draining, so it would launch something like a shield, and that shield would drain over time. And you can press it again to turn it off, or it would turn off automatically once the charge amount gets down to 0. And then we'd have a thing for filling it up in the background. We'd have to hook that up with a UI or something to give feedback, which is what we're doing right now. So speaking of feedback, let's get back to it. We have our beam complete happening. We have our beam ending happening. So those should trigger and turn on and turn off the spray. And it should automatically display that effect. I'm going to make sure it's in the right place. Oh, we want the cooldown to be over near the nozzle. Set that at -40. I'm obsessed with like round numbers, right? Can't have decimals or anything. It feels weird. All right, so when we fire the laser, we've got the charge, we release it, and no cooldown effect, and an error. All right, what happened? Ah, I didn't set something. Let's take a look. Yep, I forgot to actually assign the cooldown object. Let's go ahead and do that. So we have a new person, Jut MFD. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to Starr Mazer TV. So yeah, as people are mentioning, this is a stream where we're talking about Starr Mazer, a game that was funded by some amazing people, and now we get to build it. So this is building it right now. Every Thursday we do development streams, and today is when we do the actual coding of the game. Oh, so Jut MFD, you know Vanessa, you already know everything about Starr Mazer. You know what's going on here. All right. Need to get that Star Wolf and assign to their value. So we never assigned our cooldown object. Apply. I think I'm going to turn the cooldown effect as soon as the weapon fires, because you're going to fire the bomb and it's going to stay there and you're going to move around, and then the cooldown effect will trigger. I think I want to show it right from the beginning there. So I'm going to adjust that. Basically, we want to always see that it's cooling down, like as soon as you fire. So let's take this beam ending. Oh, we can just take it up to beam fire. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, look at that mess of code. Yeah, clean that up a little bit. All right, we're compiling. Yeah, so now we have that cooldown effect. And now I know when's the next time I can fire. So I fire it and see it doesn't work. Now I can do it. Got that little effect there. Boom. All right, so our weapon is like giving us the feedback we need to actually use it, which is pretty cool. Oh, see, it's cooling down. Did I find a... I think I just found a bug. Yeah, if I hold the button while we're cooling down, it cools down forever. It's not cooling down. It's still cooling down. It's always cooling down. Then we have to make a decision. Ignore that landing zone. That's just a place I can go to, but I'm not going to go there. So, I need to decide what to do when the player presses the button during the cooldown. There's a couple different ways we can deal with it. We can sort of punish the player so that when you press it during the cooldown, it doesn't actually trigger it because it's cooling down. But the way I think that's sort of a bad idea. Instead, what I want is that if you press it while it's cooling down, as soon as it can, it will go ahead and trigger to start up the sequence again. Because basically, I've decided I want to fire this weapon again, so I should be charging it up. So let's go ahead and code that to happen. I need to look at the logic a little bit of this thing to figure out what's going on, why that happened. So we have this cooldown effect. Cooldown equals false, so being complete. Charge amount is less than or equal to 0. So that should be fine. So weapon firing and not cooldown. Something must be happening, firing and not cooldown. None of those trigger when cooldown's firing. This does. Not when firing, and charge amount is greater than 0, not firing. That just resets if we let go too early. Let's comment things so I know what they're all doing. Event, while cooling down. Let's see here. Let's see if that triggers. I have this theory that it's not triggering when I'm holding the button, but that might not actually be cool. It might not actually be the case. It is the case, because I just held it. So you'll see that I got this little function, or this callback right here, log, that says the cooldown is over, and that didn't pop until I released my hand. So there's something happening where cooldown's not happening if I'm firing. So let's find out what's going on. Cooling down. I'm guessing something else is also like charging at the same time. Let's go ahead and see what happens here. So cooling down is slowly reducing our charge amount. Very slowly. But if I just let go, got all these logs happening. There we go. There's a bunch of bullets I'm dodging. So when I don't hold on to it, cooling down happens pretty much instantly. So something is affecting this charge amount. It could be this, but I'm not supposed to enter there if I'm cooling down. So this whole reset if we let go too early thing actually resets the cooldown instantly. So when I hold the button, the cooldown's working correctly, but when I release the button, this code cooks in and instantly cools it down. So let's make sure that doesn't happen when we're cooling down. So now when I release, we have a real cooldown. It's like a super long time. It takes so long to cool down. You can see that number going down. It needs to get to 0 before we're done cooling down. So I got to adjust the cooldown rate, which I can do on the actual weapon. So at that cooldown rate of 0.01, let's make it 0.1, 10 times faster. Let's see what that cooldown rate looks like. So Cerberus asks the question that everyone asks: why are we facing left? It's so I can prove to you that it works. But yeah, it's actually something we're talking about. I'll discuss that when I'm not thinking about cooling down stuff. Yeah, so it still takes way too long. Let's crank that up. Set it to 1. This is modified by how much time we pass in a frame, because we do it in a live update. It's the thing about making your games frame rate independent and stuff. Alright, so it's got a long cooldown rate. Now I think I can hack this. Yeah, so I'm doing this thing where I'm actually switching my weapons, and it allows me to cancel out the cooldown. Maybe I want that. I don't know. It was a technique in in certain first-person shooters, you would switch weapons to stop the loading animation and be able to fire faster, as long as you cycle through your weapons. But we'll balance that out later. Either way, that's working better now. So we've got, it's super fast to charge up. I don't want it to charge up quite that quick. I want there to be more weight to this thing. It's got to feel heavy. Oh, let's adjust how much damage it does. Well, it's already doing 3. Oh yeah, we're going to do the sweet spot thing. I forgot about that. We'll adjust damage later. Big Bold Flank asks if we can make the laser button show the cooldown as a progress bar. That's probably a really good idea to have also on the UI a visual update of what's going on. And we'll have something in there when we develop a more final UI. We've got some UI concepts that show like sort of the weapons as bars on there. Yeah. But we'll do some more editing from that. So this thing's cool, but it's not nearly strong enough. And so now I can hold that cooldown button. Yeah, so right after I fire, I can hold the button again and get ready to charge. Yeah, this thing just takes forever to charge. So it's got to do a lot of damage. We want it to make it a really awesome weapon. And we also want to add in that sweet spot concept. So the idea is that we have different areas of collision. And when an enemy hits those different areas, it'll do more or less damage. We're going to make this very stark right now just to make sure it works. But the idea that I'm going to have is we're going to just have multiple colliders, and they're going to deal their own damage. I think this will work. So let's take a look at what we have right now. We actually don't have to go into that. We just have to go into the bullet. So we got this bullet, the smart bomb, the spark, this guy. Right now, we have one collider on it, this large collider. So anything within this green square will get damaged. And it will take the properties of this damage collision object right here. But that just works throughout the board. As long as this damage collider and the box collider is on here, it'll go ahead and make collisions with things. So instead, I'm going to make a couple of them. So let's add a box collider, and let's add a damage collision. So it's a bullet player. And the damage on this one, we're going to make this 10. Now let's make another one, just far. We're going to make this damage 1. Let's go ahead and expand our colliders. So we're going to make the far one out in front. So if it's on the front half of it, it'll only do 1 damage. Wait, really? Player and bullet player? No, we just want player. Or bullet player. The close one is the one that's going to do the 10 damage. And now we need to get rid of these colliders. I think I need that rigid body on them as well. No, that's just to control the moving. I shouldn't need that. Sweet. Alright, let's go see how our new thing works. So, they're far away. They should only take 1 point of damage. So let's go watch how this works. We're going to go in frame by frame. This guy's getting hit now. Now I want to watch his health. Bam. So, this thing has, where is it? It's got a shield, which is still at 3 right now, and it's got some integrity. So while it's out there, it should be taking 1 point of damage. It's not in the collision spot yet. It's not taking... There we go. It took some damage. It took all of the damage. So I'm curious if it didn't flip the damage colliders. Let's take a look at this guy. Alright, we got the blue spark. Our damage colliders, close and far. They are not nearly large enough. This thing is way bigger. But yeah, the close is still on the left side. We actually need to flip the bullet to make sure the close is on the right side. So I need to add in the ability for us to flip bullets when we're facing the other direction. And I will do that, but we got some questions here, so I'm going to take a look at them. JetMFD says, perhaps the format would appeal players from a culture with right-to-left writing systems. Talking about like facing left to right and right to left. Yeah, this is basically, I think I'm the only person on the team who wants it to go in this direction, this whole aspect of right to left. And the reason why I want that is because you're going to be traveling through the world. So imagine you're flying in a scenario, and so you're flying along, and then you land your ship, and you want to go back. So you should go back the same way. I feel that's going to make the world feel very connected, and so that's why I'm a big proponent of it. Defender isn't a super popular game, so no one remembers the game where you could go in either direction. There's also a couple other games like that. I think Fantasy Zone is one of them. But it makes sense to have a connected world. But people who grew up on shmups, they look at this and they go, oh my god, like, I can't, and their brain breaks. So we're going to playtest it and see if it holds out. But if people don't like it, then we're just not going to do that. But for now, I want to support it. And so now I need to make sure that this bullet works in either direction. Let's see here. Would it look cooler if the burst moved back with the scrolling world? Possibly, if it's supposed to exist in the world, but then you're going to fire it, and it's going to move through your ship. So, like, it makes it less effective, I think. But yeah, we could do a thing. What we'd have to do is we'd have to take the scrolling speed of the world, and we'd throw that into the variables. Possibly, but not in this stream. Let's see here. Will Brick carry some type of holographic notebook to keep track of missions? Oh, so it's sort of like quest log and whatnot. I think that was already asked earlier. It depends. If we need it, sure. If not, then no. Sweet. All right, that's enough. So we're going to have to go into something where we can flip this around. We just want to be able to set the scale to -1 when the bullet is being fired in the right direction. Now, interesting enough, I thought I was already doing that, but it seems I'm actually not. Oh, because I already have the angle figured out of the bullets. But this thing doesn't shift angle. Either way, we should still shift that, which means bullets are going to go backwards because we're adjusting angle for them. I'll have to like only allow certain weapons to be inverted. Because I do want this to be inverted, or maybe there's a different way we can invert it. See, if we do the scale, that's the easy one, because it just instantly flips the colliders within. But there are possible issues with that. Because then bullets are going to be facing backwards when you fire them, because they're going to be scaled differently. Well, I guess they're normally getting fired upside down. So let's try it and see what happens. We're going to go ahead and adjust our bullets to invert when they're inverted. I can invert their scale. So if inverted, transformed up. Let's see scale. Let's give that a shot. See what that looks like. Loss of scales and it can't be adjusted. We'll assume that this is on the top root. That makes sense. Lossy scale is the scale of the combined scales of all the parents, so it makes sense that you would be able to adjust that. Someone mentioned that this song is annoying. Are you guys hearing my music? Because it shouldn't be porting through to you guys. I think this might just be working. Or it's completely not working. Okay, cool. Yeah, you're not hearing any music. Big Bull Flank just doesn't like my music because he's listening along with me. Yeah, future-based music is a particular blend of taste. It's not for everyone. Maybe I just had it the wrong way. Yeah, I'm not hardcore enough to be coding in Emacs. I'm not on your coding level. All right, there we go. So that's adjusting it. So the close is close, the far is far away. But does that? Yeah, it makes. See, these other bullets are all backwards, and it's gross. It's terrible. I don't like it. We have a couple of different options to make it so that those bullets aren't backwards either, because we really only want this explosion thing to be backwards. So we can create a property that is invertible, which we assign to specific bullets, so when we do want them to flip or not. Or we can use other conditions to see whether we should flip them, such as like if the bullet doesn't have a speed, we should flip it. But we did talk about the idea of that this bullet might stay in place and go into the background, that Big Bold Frank brought up. And I like that idea. I think we might eventually do that for something. It makes sense. It's one of those weird things where it's like, well, it makes sense because it's realistic, right? Because you caused an explosion and it happens there and you're flying by it. But there's this thing where realistic things in games are generally not very fun. If you're firing your big shot and then it goes off screen, that's going to suck. And if you fly faster and you're moving through things faster, then it like makes that weapon less effective. Maybe that's a condition of using the speed, and that's an interesting compromise. But there's an entire slew of design issues that come up when you're just like, oh, because it's realistic. So it's not that it won't work, it's just something we got to test. But either way, it's something we might do. And so tying it to the speed of the bullet isn't necessarily something that I want to do. Instead, I think tying it to just a value that we set, because there are going to be some bullets that we want to flip and some bullets that we don't want visually to flip. So I'm going to go ahead and create that variable on the bullet. We'll just make a new new boolean. Can invert scale. That's all. Very simple. Otherwise, we'll always keep it at 1. So now we'll go down to our bullet, which is our spark, and it's the only one that'll have that set to true. Where's that bullet script? There we go. Can invert scale. Now, our singles shouldn't go backwards. They totally are, though. Else, transform to local scale equals 1. I might have this totally backwards. Let's go take a look at the bullet. That doesn't make sense. So this triple can't invert scale. So it'll never hit this. If not inverted. I think my inverted is actually backwards. Let's go take a look at that. Invert X. Invert X comes from add bullet. Add bullet has an invert X. It comes from shoot. Shoot's based off the weapon firing. Normally it's false by default. I think I just screwed it up from previous. Let's try this out, see if this works. So Cerberus asked a question to TurtleSpin specifically, which was, remember when more than 60% of games are good? Release games are good? I think that is a misconception. If you go back to 2007 and you play every game that was released that year, I don't think you'll find 60% of them are good. There's this bias that we remember the good games, but we see all the current games being out. Now, there is a thing to be said that game development is more accessible and that more people are releasing games more now than ever before. And so there's potentially, physically, the number of games that are worse is probably higher, but I guarantee the percentage is probably about the same. There was a lot of bad games back then, too. So our bullets are still firing backwards. I don't know why, so I got to figure that out. Bullet, why are you backwards? You are set to scale correctly. Wait a second. Do I set this somewhere else? No, I don't. This is very interesting. Let's take this out again. Let's take a look at what's exactly going on. I gotta figure out what's going on with my bullets. Hey JutFMD, or JutMFD, thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you joining the stream. So our bullets fire regularly. And they're at a -1 scale because we are inverted. So that's already setting that to be -1. Now, what is getting its scale set to -1 is what I got to ask. And something's adjusting that. So it's not here. Maybe it's in the ad bar, in the muzzle itself. Yeah, look at that. We did a thing out here. We should be doing it in there. So we'll just have this update itself. So we actually are always adjusting them to be negative. So we're already doing that. I just made the bullet for the wrong direction, I think. I think if I just alternate the bullet, it'll fix it. Now, inverted X, that's getting set based off of not a direction anymore. It's based off of the weapon itself, or the ship itself is being inverted, which is good. That's what we want. Let's go take a look at what's going on right now. Okay. So everything's facing in that direction, which is the -1 direction. Now these are not -1. So what's interesting is that when these bullets get created, they're not being set to -1. When these bullets are, they are. So what's going on with you, laser? You should be set to -1, but they're not. So I got to find out why firing this one is not setting it correctly. It could be that I did my logic wrong. In the ship weapon Spark, when we do that shoot, where is it? Muzzle.shoot. The transform.lossyscale.z X. There we go. Now they should be flipping correctly. Clovis appreciates the triangle planet in the background, the planet that is me inverting an asset and putting something in there because I wanted it to have the full asset. But yeah, it looks gross. So now, boom. This should be the right size. It'd be helpful if I could click it. Where's that factoring? Here we go. Sweet. So we are -1. And our close is better than our far away. I'm going to adjust these things because the collision boxes don't really match up. Really, we want a much larger collision box. Yeah, our collision box should do something like that. 50, 110, 30. Yeah. What we can also do, we can adjust the sprite. Do that one. Now we can match it up. Rotation, I don't want any of that. A bit too far out. Dano asks, how many of the art assets that we see now will be replaced later as things get fine-tuned? It depends on whether these are still up to par as the artists are good. Ideally, like, I love all these assets. I think they're great. I think we can still use them in the game. We'll adjust them if they're not up to the quality of the assets that get made later on. The only one that I'm fighting for to get replaced is that explosion graphic. This one's fine. This is great. It looks beautiful. When the ships blow up, not a fan. It was just sort of a different style. Yeah, all right. So now our radiuses are much better, and we should be able to see that things close will take more damage than things far away. Let's go ahead and watch some variables while we go into the game. So we'll get to our spark. We'll line up for an enemy. All right, now I released. I might have been a bit too late. Let's see what happens. All right, so its shield is right there. As it goes in, see, it just took all of its damage, which implies that it got hit by the entire thing. More. Maybe it just got hit a bunch of times because it's actually staying there. And it could have been hit. Oh no, we only went by one frame. So why did it take so much damage? Yeah, that's a single frame. It should only be taking one damage. So let's go ahead and see what's going on with that. We're just going to output how much damage we're getting. Capacity change. So this only tells us what the shield takes, but the shield still has 3 points on it. Let's get rid of a couple of other logs. We don't really need that anymore. Clovis is saying that it's nice to not have to build each time we want to test something. There is a bit of compiling going on, which is why you see me sort of sit at the screen for like a second. You can see in the bottom right there's this little thing that's compiling new scripts. But it doesn't like have to rebuild everything or rebuild the engine that we're in. That saves us significant amounts of time. Alright, so that took 10 damage. Let's see if I can get an enemy up close. Yeah. Are they inverted? Close does 10. Bar does 1. Okay. It doesn't have any things on it. Maybe they're just actually getting close. Let's see this guy. Let's watch him as he goes into it. Let's hope it lasts long enough. Nope. We're stepping through frame by frame. We're going to watch how much damage this person takes. Took 10. So, it took 10 damage, even though that thing is supposed to only do 1. I'm not sure why. Let's step through even further. Oh yeah, Flash can have some longer build times depending on your project. Alright, so we go from collision reporter to ship shield, ship shield, ship shield. So collision reporter 38 is what's doing it, which indicates that it got hit. So ship shield does have access to the collision reporter and updates the count of damage. So let's go ahead and let's see what we're actually colliding with. Oh, the graphic's going to look like poop because I scaled down the screen. Alright. Spark damage close. So it says it collided with spark damage close. We can clearly see that spark damage close is over there. Spark damage far is over there. So why did it collide with this guy when it's over there? This is pretty interesting. I'm not understanding. Maybe this thing's collider is off? That's a possibility. Its colliders are all here. Let's do another test. Okay, so this guy is close. Those -1s are coming from the damage I'm taking from the bullets. This guy is here. And he still hit the close one, which is accurate. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the close one. See what happens. So now we only have far. Does this collide with anything? Alright, so that worked that time, because we saw him flash and actually take some damage. So now they're taking it from the far. It's working as expected. I want to see if I have it overlapping close, if it takes damage. Okay, so it's not hitting anymore. But why does close normally trigger? Oh, I died. Oops. Seems to always trigger. Even when we're hitting the ones far away. It's interesting that the close, way over here, is triggering, as if these are the same object. Maybe because they're combined, but this isn't actually sending any messages. Yeah. I honestly do not know why the close is triggering when it's hitting the far. But I do know if I turn one off, it will connect to the right one. So there's got to be something going on here. Let's set them both down to 1 and see if they both collide. It could be taking priority over one of them. So now they both do 1 damage, which will give them both a couple of moments. Alright. You see that it took some damage from close. It's only getting collided with close. From different areas, though, 38 and 44. Which are probably enter and stay. Yeah. Got 44. Yeah, so it's hitting enter and stay. I'm just going ahead and dealing damage to it every round. Let's get one of the bigger enemies and see if they take damage from both of them. I'll have to wait a little while for one to spawn in, so we'll just take out some dudes for now. Alright, so we got this big one right here. Now, this is actually getting triggered by both of them. If I go in, we see a bunch of damages being triggered. It's got some invul time on its shield, so it actually avoids some of the damage. Plus all of our colliders of physical bodies getting in there. Yeah, it takes damage from both the close and the far, so they are working. But I don't know why the close one always gets triggered. Let's try some more experiments. They're physically close together. Let's move them apart and thin them out. Now they're far away from each other. Let's see if we get the same behavior. People are sad that I'm not always on the stream with them. It's because I live in a different area, and so I don't always go to the office. Alright. So that's totally on the far. It couldn't be any more on the far, and it's triggering on the close. Ah. I got it. So, there's a thing that's checked in with these colliders. They're triggers. These ones are not, which means they physically react to the environment. So enemies push them around. So it's been pushing the ones. Now that doesn't entirely make sense as to why it was breaking before and triggering the close. Maybe it's because they trigger all the colliders together when they're grouped up. But look at that. We've got damage far. And as it flies through, damage close. Let's go ahead and update these damages. And we should have this working. Damage close is 10. Let's do a couple more tests. All right. So instantly we see it taking damage from the far. It blew up, because it took out too much damage from the far. Let's try to get a close shot. Alright. So it's not taking any damage, and then hits the contact collider. Oh, because it's flying through me. But it's also taking damage from the close. Good. We are working. Let's go adjust our colliders. And so the original design of it was to have 3 of these. So we're going to make 3 of them. Mid. We'll make each of these 25. Mid one's going to go right in the center. 25. See. So we've got some colliders there, and they will each do different amounts of damage. So close will do 10, far will do 1, mid will do 4. All right. Now there is one other thing that I don't think we're going to have time to fix up on this stream. But the sort of last aspect of this thing that's not working the way we want it to is that an enemy can collide on both of them at once. So if they hit the mid spot and they hit the far spot, they're going to take the damage of both. So the sweet spots aren't actually at the edge or like the closer in. This best spot is in between the mid and the close. I don't really want that happening, but we don't necessarily have a way of assigning it to not take damage from both of them, at least not right now. So I'm going to have to devise a strategy for that, something I'll have to think about. And I think, now that we have a thing working, that's basically going to wrap up this session. Let's go test it out, though. Let's see if it does the right amount of damage. If it feels good, if it's balanced right. Let's bring this up, let's right scale. Boom. Yeah, we can destroy those things now. So it's a really good weapon for taking out big enemies. Like, watch this. We just wipe them all out, which is really nice. Let's go ahead and shoot against this guy. We gotta wait and get in there. Yeah. But it's bad for taking out sort of single enemies because it takes so long to charge, and then I have to like accurately put it in the right area. Instead, that's what these are for. I think they freeze when I get the collisions in the wrong area. So, now that I have a strategy for it, let's go ahead and actually play through the whole session. We'll go down, we'll land, we'll come back, and I'll use the right weapon for the right job. Got our single fire for these guys. Feels pretty good. It takes a couple of hits, but it's good to hit them out. For those twins, you get the double laser out. Yeah. The double laser is a little unfocused. There's not a whole lot of difference in the single and double right now. Need to tweak them a little bit more so they feel better. Maybe if I just simply bring the doubles farther apart, that might be more interesting. Something I can actually do that right now. I'll just do that right now. Let's take the double. That muzzle. And put up there. This muzzle. And we'll put down there. Now the double's a little more interesting. Cool. Alright, so we're going to land. Now, remember, the visuals are not final right now. This is all super testy stuff. But I just want to do it, so we hop back in. And we can have the ship facing the way you all want it to face. Now let's launch. I wasn't quick enough for that. I want to use my double now. We sort of just made like another weapon. It's not very good, though. Oh, but it might be good for those guys, yeah. It's all about the situation you're in. We're loading up the spark bomb. Take all them out. It's great. Gotta load up my spark bomb. Gotta take this guy out. Yeah, spark bomb. Yeah, those enemies, they're just gonna chill. They're just gonna watch the battle, hanging out here. You know, whatever. They're doing their thing. Yeah, I think even though the double is cool because it splits up, it's just not as good as any of the other weapons. The laser is fun in theory, but it would have to do more damage to be effective like this. Maybe I could do that, pump up the damage a little bit. I'm going to be excessive and use our new weapon. Boom. Alright, sweet. So, that's it working. We made a new weapon. We made this spark bomb thing. It didn't exist 2 hours ago. So thank you everyone for joining in and checking this out. We made a thing. If you want to get involved in the development and stuff, let me know what you all want to work on next time. We'll be doing these sessions once a month with our Thursday dev series. So that includes Starr Mazer Versus, where Kazuo will play against you guys in competitive games. We have Starr Jams, where Alex Maurer will be making music live. We have StarrMazer.Make, which is us doing the development thing, the thing we just did here. And finally, we'll also be doing a Maximo session, which doesn't have a name yet, which will be drawing live. And that's actually going to happen next week. So you totally want to hang out with us next week. I'm going to be chilling because I want to watch Maximo draw. It's an amazing experience. Plus, I don't know if you've all met Maximo yet, so you'll get to be able to hang out with him. He's a great guy, super fun to talk to. So thank you all for joining. If you missed any part of this, you want to go more into detail, if there's some aspect of this that you want to learn for your own coding purposes, this will be up on YouTube, so you can check that out. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you might be confused at all the times I look over there and was talking to the chat. That's because people do this live, so if you are watching this on YouTube, you should join us live Tuesdays, Thursdays, or Saturdays from 4 p.m. till about 6 or 7 or however long we go to. But I am hungry and thirsty right now, so I'm going to go sign off and get some food. So once again, thank you all for joining, and I'm going to do this thing where we wave and we show the screen, and then you're going to quickly see me display it, because there's like this 40-second delay. So I want to make sure that when I hit it, it's been 40 seconds since I said bye.